Rawhide work, you just have to get in it and get your feet wet. And of course, the more you work with it, the more you learn. And like myself, I've been doing it since 1953, and I still don't know everything about it. I mean, you just never learn it all. I started braiding in 1953. At that time, I was working on a ranch in Nevada and met an older cowboy that was into braiding, and I liked the process, and I always liked to do things with my hands, so I began braiding and got a book called How to Make Cowboy Horse Gear by Bruce Grant, and that was my only teacher. I never had anybody else. At that time, there was very few braiders. Everything that I learned was from that book. Rawhide braiding has been traced back to the Moors, which is over 5,000 years ago. The Moors brought it into Spain during the Moor War. The Spanish brought it into the Americas, South America, and North America. It came in to the United States on ships, but it actually come inland on horses. The actual braiding came into the old Mexico and up into the Californias and so forth. Rawhide is stronger than leather, all things being equal. Let's say you cut a string at a given size out of each material, and the rawhide will be stronger, and rawhide is at its strongest when it's actually dry. Rawhide held Texas together in the early pioneer days when they first started settling in Texas, and they repaired everything that broke with rawhide. If you broke a chair leg, they'd repair it with rawhide. You broke your rifle stock, you wrap it with rawhide. Break a wagon tongue, they'd wrap it with rawhide, and it would work. Even the tops of their tables and beds was made with rawhide. It was just a staple of Texas, I guess you might say. And of course, then it come on into other states later.
Jack organized a reunion of some of his past students and a demonstration of some of the processes a hide goes through to be prepared for braiding.
A number of ways to prepare a hide for actual braiding. Let's say that we get it from the butcher, or we skin an animal ourselves. The first thing is flesh the hide. You do want to get all the old fat and flesh off of the hide because it will rot and cause an odor to your hide.
We're going to flesh a hide. This is a hide that's been butchered 2 weeks ago, and it was in salt. And then I uncovered it about Wednesday, and then I put it in a pond to let it re-moisten back up. And this process will usually take 45 minutes or something like that. Now I'm not trying to go to any certain thickness. All I'm trying to do is get the fat and the muscle, the meat off of it. You flesh the flesh side, and then you want the hair off, and there's several ways to do that.
Jack's preferred method for dehairing the hide is by using wooden sticks with sharp edges to scrape the hair, complemented by ashes sprinkled on the hide to get some traction with the sticks.
And the Argentines claim this is the very best method of dehairing a hide. And the Argentines are the best braiders in the world.
After the hair is off the hide, usually Jack will cut a large portion of the hide into one long continuous strip and stretch it out to partially dry. The strip is then shaved down to the correct thickness based on the project.
After you get it thinned, the next process would be cutting a string. And there again, there's various ways, machines for cutting strings and so forth. But once you get your strings cut, everybody recommends beveling the top edge, the hair side for rawhide. If you're using leather, you bevel the flesh side. The Argentine braiders told me that most of the Americans do not put in enough time preparing their strings. Basically, if you start with junk, you wind up with junk. So string preparation is one of the most important aspects of your braid work.
Once the strings are prepared, they're ready to braid.
I braided basically just what I needed and what friends would talk me out of for years. But in the early 2000s, I had people request me to teach them to braid, so I started schooling people, and I think I have had over 70 students to date.
Students under Jack start by learning how to hold the string to create the right tension while braiding. He teaches them the 4-string round braid.
The 4-string round braid is the most difficult thing for a new student to catch on to. Once they learn the 4-string braid, then I'll graduate them to an 8-string, 12-string, or whatever. And that is relatively easy after they learn the muscle memory of braiding 4 strings. I will start teaching them different knots. And to me, there's about 4 knots that will cover about anything you want to do. I would normally start them out making reins till they get very adept at braiding, and then go into a bozal or headstall or whatever that they desire to make.
Jack is wonderful. Jack, he never lets you settle for less. I made a set of reins and I took them into Jack. I was so proud of them. He said, "You satisfied with them?" I says, "Yeah, I guess I'm satisfied." He said, "No, you're not. You're never satisfied." He always pushes us to do the very best we can.
In 2006, Jack was encouraged to seek a grant through Wyoming Arts Council to work with an apprentice to teach rawhide braiding more in depth. Now he's working with an apprentice on his 6th such grant.
I wanted to learn how to make my own gear for my horses, for my saddles, and be able to fix my gear.
Soliana is very enthused about it. She told me once that she could just live in here doing that type of work. In the process now, teaching her the multiple string knot, and once she learns that, she will have enough knots to do any type of work that she needs to do. She's really doing a good job and is really dedicated.
He's super patient, lets you figure it out, but also guides you if you can't figure it out.
If I've had a rough day, I can go out into my shop and cut rawhide, and next thing you know, all your problems are gone.
I really like braiding. It's very meditative. You have to single-handedly focus on it. If you get a little distracted, you can tell in the braid that you didn't maintain the same tension, the same pull. So I like the focus that it takes.
I have found that if I'm kind of keyed up and so forth, and television not worth watching, I'll come out to the shop and sit down and do a little braid work, an hour or two, and I'm more relaxed when I get through, and I can just feel better all over, especially if you accomplish something that you've been trying to do, like you finish a nice knot or something. You really have a feeling of gratification on that.
Jack has spent a lifetime creating beautiful and functional rawhide horse gear. By passing on his knowledge, he's preserving an invaluable skill for the next generation.